Championship week is in the books. We're on to the Super Bowl. Let's get to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an episode of the Blitz Breakdown podcast. I'm your host, Ben Neesmith, alongside
Eason Neesmith.
And
Dad.
Yeah, close enough. Now, welcome to this episode of the Blitz Breakdown podcast. As we're breaking down the conference championship games from Sunday between the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs will set up a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl matchup in under 2 weeks from New Orleans on Sunday. Let's get to it. Starting with the NFC Championship game. Boy, I don't know what to say, be honest, about this game.
I thought the Commanders had a way better shot than how they played. I thought they would actually have a good shot at winning on how they played against Detroit, but Philly was just no joke.
Yeah, Philly was no joke. What are your thoughts on this game?
My thoughts on this game was Washington was way out of their league, and when you shouldn't even been in. Things happen for a reason. They hit the wild card. Good for them. Were they better than Detroit? No. But you have to look at the overall year. Defensively, they did fine. Offensively, they struggled at times.
Yeah, especially over a rookie quarterback who's coming off a season that I can't even resist myself through. Jane Daniels, let's have a look at stat-wise, however. Jane Daniels, 29 for 48 for 255 yards, 1 TD, and that interception he threw.
Not the worst stats, especially in completion percentage, how many times he aired it out, but
you can't do that in this game.
You can't do that, especially against a talented Eagles defense.
Eagles just outmatched them. Made them look like it was a high school or at best a top 25 college team. The Eagles made them look like that they weren't hitting on any cylinders, so they made them look like an old college team.
Especially when they jump off side 3 times on the tush push from the goal line, which is ridiculous.
And mistakes you can't make. Everybody knows that. This is an important game. You can't make any mistakes. You got to keep your head in the game. You got to get the crowd out of your head. You got to get all the hype out of the news. You got to take all that and you got to just play ball. That's how you made it there. That's what you got to continue doing.
You got to start. You got to finish.
Yep.
Looking at the other side for the Commanders, their only leading rusher was Brian Robinson for 11 for 36. Jane Daniels had 6 for 48, and their only rushing TD of the game. And receiving, Zach Ertz was the leading receiver, 11 for 104. Terry McLaurin had a touchdown for this game, 351 and a tud in the defense for the Commanders. It was basically non-existent against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, that's just it was kind of shocking to see that score, though, especially how they played against Detroit. That was because Detroit.
They came into Detroit and spanked them.
And then got spanked the next week.
And then they got spanked in Philadelphia against a division rival to put you in this position, when you're playing in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks in New Orleans. And look at you, you can't win these type of games. Why are you even here to begin with?
I think the Eagles quarterback has looked probably better that game than he's looked all season.
Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think no NFC quarterback is top tier. Jalen Hurts is probably top 2 NFC quarterback in the NFC. And
who would you take over him?
In the whole league?
And over Jalen Hurts in the NFC?
Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young, Jaden Daniels. I'd take those 3 over Jalen Hurts. It's not nothing about Jalen Hurts' game. It's just...
He's on, he's on. He's off, he's off. It's hot and cold. Never consistent through an entire 4 quarters of offensive possessions.
Okay. Let's talk about this Eagles team that dropped a 50 burger on the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. Jalen Hurts, 20 for 28, 246 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. They just basically ran the ball the whole entire game.
I mean, I would too if I had a top 3 back in the NFL.
Like Saquon Barkley, 15 for 118 for three touchdowns. Will Shipley, 4 for 77, 1 touchdown. Jalen Hurts, 10 for 16, 3 touchdowns. One that came on the tush push.
Yeah, and Jalen was known in college to run the ball. He didn't do that much running on this past game. He did try to get it going a couple of times, but I think it was safe to say hand it off to the backs that could do the job.
Exactly. The Eagles' leading receiver was AJ Brown, 6 for 96, and a touchdown. Dallas Goedert was 7 for 85. But they just ran the ball through the Commanders' defense the whole entire game, and I wouldn't blame him, especially when you were expecting to play Detroit, and then Detroit got upset at home when they were supposed to make a Super Bowl run. And being the best team in the NFC North and possibly the best division of football, even though all those 3 teams lost in the first round.
Well, everybody wants to know about the Kansas City game and how we think that went.
Yep, let's go on and get to it.
Well,
right, let me go through it. So Josh Allen, 22 for 34, 237 yards, and 2 touchdowns for that game. And your thoughts on this season for Josh Allen?
Josh Allen's a phenomenal quarterback, but when it comes down to playing Patrick Mahomes in the in the playoffs, he can never get the job done. He's 0 for 4 against Mahomes in the playoffs. In the regular season, he's 4-1, but when it matters in the playoffs, he can't get the job done. He's 0 for 4 for the past 4 years when they've met. He's not won a single game against Mahomes in the playoffs.
Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are Jaden didn't play as well as he's supposed to. However,
This is Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, yes. Josh Allen didn't play as good as he was supposed to. The other thing is there was a couple of the two-point conversions. They should have went with a field goal, could have put the game at least into overtime. They kind of blew that. There was a couple of penalties on both sides that were questionable. There was definitely a face mask by the Chiefs. That was huge face mask. Everybody, Stevie Wonder could have seen it from his house. Everybody seen it right down to the commentators sitting in the press box. Didn't get called. Hey, I saw some other plays on the other side, flip side of that, where they didn't call some plays. There was a couple. Josh Allen, he let the time expire one time. Had just it was almost a double zeros. You might as well say it double zeros. It didn't get off. There was a couple of other plays.
Holdings.
There was some holding. There was some holds on both sides of the ball, 2 or 3 times. A pass interference, the bobbled fumble that they called a reception. Nobody came down with that ball. That ball, if anything, was up for grabs, hit the ground, bounced everywhere. If it had been a basketball court, it could have went through the hoop.
Absolutely.
However, but what I'm saying is the Chiefs did play the better game at the end of the day because they didn't make as many critical mistakes. I think some of the mistakes go back into your coaching. And
Buffalo didn't have any coaching that game.
No,
Speaking of coaching, though, Steve Spags, defensive coordinator for Kansas City, on those critical moments that it mattered, like the 3rd and 4th downs, when he brought the blitz, like they did last week against Houston. They sacked C.J. Stroud last week 8 times. This week they only were able to get to Allen 3 times. But when you look at when he brings the blitz, Allen has no time to throw it, and Allen just has to make a play. But when it came down to getting that huge first to keep them in it, Chiefs defense put too much pressure on Allen. Allen threw an incompletion to Kincaid, which that was real catchable by Kincaid too. It hit him right in the hands, but he still dropped
Especially with the game on the line on 4th down at the 2 minutes.
Look at it this way. The opposing defense against the Chiefs, they had enough to keep them out of the end zone at times. They had enough to keep them make it 4 and outs and whatever, 3 and out, 4 and out. Even when they went for it a couple times, it was a closer game than what everybody anticipated. They anticipated a point, 2 points according to Vegas. It was there. It was close. I think the odds would have been blown if they went for just the point afters on the 2 tutties. But again, Vegas wins on that one. I think I'm going to say that the Eagles hopefully will give the Chiefs a little bit better run, especially if Hurts plays the game the way he played this past week, aside from a couple mistakes he had and a couple backs that weren't paying attention on a couple of his plays, I think it'll be a good tight game. Should be. This is football. Never know.
Never know. But going on to the Chiefs side of things, Mahomes 18 for 26, 245, and 1 touchdown on the game. Easton, your thoughts on Mahomes' game against the Buffalo Bills?
The Bills defense tried to play Mahomes like it's regular season Mahomes, but if you actually watch football and know about Patrick Mahomes especially, he's a different breed in the playoffs. I think he only has 1 interception in his entire playoff career, and only 3 losses in all the 30 playoff games he's played in. He only has 3 losses, 2 to Brady, 1 to Burrow.
And that's the thing about Mahomes. Don't give him any extra time to sit there. He will make the decision to run. He will run. He will get yards. He will actually go forward. He's not going to sit around and dance too much. He knows the ball's got to go one way and it's got to head toward that opposite end zone. That's where it's got to go. He's got to score. He's going to do the best he can. It's either going to be with his legs. It's going to be with his pass. He's deadly accurate when it comes to throwing the ball. I did see a couple plays that missed. I don't know. I don't really think that was more or less on him. I think it was on the receivers. They got tied up a couple times. A couple flags should have been thrown on that one. Weren't. I think the refs were just kind of in a rock and a hard place when it comes to all the conspiracy theories and everybody talking that the refs are favoring. It's football. It happens. It either happens in your favor or it doesn't happen in your favor. They can't see everything. However, there was some plays that should have been seen, should have been called, but that's like every game. You could call a hold on every play of the game if you wanted to.
Exactly.
There's always at least 1 hold from 11 players on each side of the ball.
Mahomes did scramble for 2 touchdowns a game for a total of 3. He wasn't their leading rusher. That was Kareem Hunt, 17 for 64, and a touchdown. Leading receiver for the Chiefs was the rookie Xavier Worthy, 6 for 85, and a touchdown for that game. Which set up a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl, which we're going to bring that up right now for Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl. What are your thoughts heading into this game in under 2 weeks?
Well, in my opinion, the AFC is way more talented than the NFC on the sides of the NFL. And also, I think, and I'm pretty sure almost everyone can agree with me on this, the Bills are a way more talented team than the Eagles are, and the Chiefs came out on top against the Bills. So, but if you look at stats or everything, game styles, everything, Philadelphia compared to Buffalo, I'm pretty sure everyone would rather take Buffalo, right? And if you'd rather take Buffalo and Kansas City comes out on top of Buffalo, I'm going to take Kansas City for the win.
Okay, your thoughts on this Chiefs-Eagles game coming up in 2 weeks?
Again, I think if Hurts keeps his head screwed on, does get hurt, I think that they should give the Chiefs on paper, give them a little bit of a run for the money, especially since they put up 55 against
the Commanders.
Yeah, which was ridiculous. Even with the Commanders team, as I said, I think Commanders got in by the skin of their teeth. I don't think that
they shouldn't have been in Tampa. They definitely shouldn't have been in Detroit.
There's too many ifs, ands, and this, that, and the other when it comes to wild cards and everything. I am leaning to the Chiefs to win this, but not by much. I'm leaning toward maybe a touchdown. Well, I'm even going to go less than that. I'm going to say Chiefs by at least 3 points, no more than that.
And the Chiefs won it by at least 3 points in Super Bowl 57 against the Philadelphia Eagles. These two teams last faced off in Arizona. Eason?
And it was a really good game. But going back to the current game, Chiefs-Eagles, if you look at rosters receiver versus corner matchups, which that's going to matter a lot when you have 2 elite quarterbacks going head-to-head, right?
And 2 elite receivers as well.
So when you have A.J. Brown
and Devontae Smith,
we'll get to him, but A.J. Brown versus Trent McDuffie, that's going to be a matchup for the ages, kind of like how last season L'Jarius Sneed was only had 1 touchdown catch on him all season. It's going to be a really good matchup, A.J. Brown versus Trent McDuffie. And then also Joshua Williams versus Devontae Smith. That's going to be a really good matchup too, because Joshua Smith does not get the credit he's deserves for. If you've looked at the games, he's 24 years old, first year starting in his whole career, and he's really dominating for his first year. And then on Chiefs receiving side, it's going to be Darius Slay and Cooper DeJean versus who's their third DB? Do you know?
Quinion Mitchell,
Yeah, it's going to be those three versus DeAndre Hopkins,
Xavier Worthy,
Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. And Juju, people slept on him, but you saw how he played against the Bills. He probably was a top 3 receiving leader in that game. I mean, especially in the first quarter. You saw that huge gain he had. That was...
At the end of the day, the success on the defense for either one of them is going to have to be to shake up the quarterback. You're going to have to sit there. You're going to have to make Hurts think a little bit more than he normally does. You're going to have to force Patrick Mahomes out of the pocket and force him the other way. You're going to also have to try to keep everything in front of you, not behind you. You're going to have to make some of these safeties work for it. Again, if you can keep Patrick Mahomes contained, go ahead. Like any other game, a good defense is always the best offense. That way, at the end of the day, whoever has the most points, great and wonderful. But again, you're going to have to keep Patrick Mahomes contained. He is a running threat. I think he's a whole lot more accurate than Hurts is. And another thing about, like I said, keeping Hurts healthy, number one, and keeping Hurts' head on a swivel. He is constantly getting blown up on his right side. I don't know what it is. I think everybody's looked at film. He obviously has been working on it, but again, the corners not giving him any. There's too many variables, and I just don't think Hurts is going to be able to pull it off. It would be different. It would be great. It would be something to keep. Here's at the end of the day, Chiefs could get a three-peat.
First time in the NFL history we've ever seen a 3-peat.
And that would be awesome. Or Philadelphia could play the spoiler in it. They could play the spoiler in it, and so much for the 3-peat. So there would be another thing in history to go down. So they're really going to have to keep Patrick Mahomes busy. They're going to have to flush him out of the pocket. They're going to have to go. Side to side is probably not his best when it comes to running. He's more of a north-south kind of guy. So, east to west, I think he's going to have some problems if they, try to flush him. So that's what they need to do. They need to flush him towards the sidelines, not let him have the open field, not give him 10 seconds to have tea and coffee back there.
I would just like to add on to what you said about getting in Jalen Hurts' head, how Chiefs defensive coordinator has program this Chiefs defense to pass rush, especially in critical second, third, fourth down situations. It's going to be really difficult for Jalen Hurts to actually think straight when Chiefs defense is just
let's look at it. All right, we've played all the games. Here we are to the last game of the year. They've all had a chance to watch film. They know their weaknesses. They know their strengths. They know each other. Everybody's watched film on each other. Everybody's watched the games on each other. It's not like these guys don't watch. It's not like these guys just go play one game and don't study everybody else when they're on their off time. This is their job. That's what they do. So again, like you said, Jalen Hurts is going to have to keep it to give this Super Bowl any kind of excitement, to give them any kind of advantage, to give them any kind of close points. I'm still handing off the Chiefs, though, by 3.
But Jalen Hurts is going to actually have to be able to not take the sacks that he's been taking in previous games and be able to actually scramble out of the pocket and not get hit and be out for a little while.
Well, this year he's taking more sacks than you can go to the grocery store. So again, he's gonna have to stay.
This O-line's gonna have to step up for the Eagles though, because if you have Dana, Chris Jones, and Carl Loftus middle side coming at you, not including the 2 people next to Chris Jones, that's gonna be really difficult to, especially how this O-line's been playing. They're going to have a really fun day.
I see some turnovers coming in Jalen's future. Unfortunately, Jalen's going to be the one turning it over.
Yeah, especially having to throw and like Brian Cook and Trent McDuffie and like Joshua Williams way. This Super Bowl is going to be it's probably going to be the most difficult game Hurts has ever played in.
What bothers me about Hurts, sometimes he does not pick out. If he's got a safety valve sitting somewhere, he goes through for the big play. You know what? You need to take it a few yards at a time. March it down the field methodically if you have to. It doesn't matter. Eat as much clock. Do what you have. Just get some points on the board. Just be positive. Just get positive yards. Quit taking the sacks. You're not working at the 7-Eleven. You don't need You don't need all those groceries in those bags, so you don't need those sacks. So Hurts is going to have his hands full with the Chiefs.
And that's another thing. Chiefs offense does really well too. Always getting the positive yards, like Kareem Hunt and Pacheco and Perine too. Even though Perine's more of a receiving back than a running back, but Kareem Hunt, have you seen when he got backed up, like at least a 7-yard loss by the Bills? He didn't go down and he kept going and got a 6-yard gain.
I was surprised not to see Kelsey utilized as much in this past game either.
Yeah, Kelsey in the playoffs, he's kind of like Mahomes. In the regular season, like he's a whole different breed in the playoffs. Like Kelsey, I think this is his 9th season in a row, averaging more than 100 yards every playoff game.
I mean, Kelsey's got sure hands, no doubt about it. He makes the clutch plays. I don't know why he wasn't utilized as much in this past game as far as the last of the playoff games, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm not a coach. I watch football, been watching it for 50 years. All I can say is, again, I think that Jalen Hurts is going to have his hands full with this Chiefs defense.
Okay. Nice argument, yeah, back and forth. So that will do it for now. So thank you everyone for watching the Blitz Breakdown podcast. The first episode of the Blitz Breakdown podcast is a mouthful for me to say. Hey, don't forget to follow us on our football insights, highlights, and hot takes for the show. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Ben Neesmith. This is
Eason Neesmith.
Dear old dad.
Thank you so much for watching. Stay blitzed, and we'll see you next week.